Anyone who goes against Christ or anyone who puts themselves in place of Christ is Antichrist. Now, if Jesus destroys something and somebody comes along and tries to build it back up, that would obviously be going against Christ, and that would label these people as Antichrist. So let's look and see what I'm talking about. In Matthew chapter 23, I guess we'll start in verse 37. He says, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that unalive the prophets and stone them which are sent to you, how often would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathers her chicken under her wings, and you would not. They would not come to Christ, no matter what. He gave them time after time after time, and they rejected him every time, except for the remnant. Then he says in verse number 38, Behold, your house. It's not his house anymore. He's not part of it because they have totally rejected him. You reject Christ, you reject everything. He says, Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. That means there's nothing there and there's nothing going to remain there, and it would vanish away, as Hebrews 8:13 talks about the old covenant system. So then we go on to Matthew chapter 24, and we're still on the same subject of the temple. It says, And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say to you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Jesus is prophesying that the temple is going to be destroyed. And they couldn't imagine any such happening. They could not get that through their mind, that the temple would be destroyed. But Jesus, through the Roman army, would take it down, wipe it out, and that old covenant system, all the symbols of that old covenant worship system would be completely annihilated. Now let's look at the attitude of the people that would also be destroyed along with this temple. And you can read about it in Matthew chapter 23, and he goes time after time and talks about, Woe, you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. But anyway, he goes on to say that he calls them serpents. In verse number 33, You serpents and generation of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? And he says in verse number 35, that upon you may come all the righteous bloodshed upon the earth. And then in verse number 36, he says when it's going to happen. It's not at the end of time. No, it's in this generation of Jesus Christ. In that generation, he says, Verily I say to you, all these things shall come upon this generation. That would be AD 70. He gave them so much grace and so much time from the time that he came and was ascended into heaven until the destruction of Jerusalem.